This is the Sell Your Brand Show with James Bray and Mike Killen, the one-stop shop for creative solopreneurs and startups to get the best practical advice on how to build, how to brand, and how to sell online products and content. Let's get to it. Hey guys, this is James from Brand Snack.
And I'm Mike from Sell Your Service.
And this week we're talking about the best, most cost-effective design resources out there to build an epic brand. Yeah. Mike, oh, that was excitement.
I am excited.
Good.
I've been looking forward to this because it's not something that I'm usually on this side of. I'm usually like the marketing and the automation side, and I did design at uni, so I like talking about this stuff.
Nice,
yeah.
Good. How's your week been, mate? All right?
Yeah, fine. The weather has been quite literally atrocious.
Yes. Yeah, it really has. It's been almost December-like,
yeah,
and it's August.
And I know we're talking about the weather all the time, and also at the moment I'm feeling rough as a badger's arse.
You look it. I bet you love having me over.
Yeah. Yeah. What do they say? It's a laugh a minute, mate, and a desperate wait for minutes. That's what they say. But yeah, I'm good. How you doing, man?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. I went to a wedding on the weekend. I stayed in a Premier Inn, and you'll never guess what happened.
What happened?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
Son of a... Right.
I can manage to go to a hotel and have a nice time.
I'd love to know what that's like.
No random naked women bursting in my room.
No, we've talked about that on the show, haven't we?
We have talked about that on the show.
And we've talked about the other time.
And the other time of the other person, riot police.
Yeah.
Yes.
To come into the room below us.
No, mate, nothing. Absolutely nothing. A good night's sleep.
So hold on. You went to a hotel and just slept?
Wow.
I didn't even know that was an option.
It is when you've got children.
Interesting. Well,
so there we go. So next time you go to a hotel, mate.
Yeah, very nice.
Remember, it's just you.
Yeah, and I'm gonna ask them. I'm gonna say, is this a room that I can just sleep in? They'll go, well, yeah, of course so. What other type? And I go, well, because so far, 60% of my goddamn hotels in this particular chain. But yeah, good. All right, I'm glad to see you doing well, man.
Yeah, mate. Yeah, all good. Right, let's kick it off then, shall we?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
So before we begin, this is about the top brand design resources that we're going to go through today. I just want to make a slight clarification between what branding and brand design are. Branding is the entire process. So that includes the whole strategy behind why you act a certain way, why you look a certain way.
Yeah.
There's a whole different aspect to all of that, which we're not including here. Brand design is how you visually communicate your branding strategy to your audience.
Yeah.
So that's through imagery, colors, fonts, music, the whole kind of anything that's sensory to your audience. That gives across your personality, the way you talk, the way you act, the way you feel as a business entity. That's what brand design is all about, and brand identity. So we've got basically a few different areas of brand design, and then we're going to talk through a few of the different tools and resources out there that can help you do this. To be honest, there are millions.
Yeah.
Absolutely millions of tools and resources, ranging from free and a lot of them crap to very expensive, and also a lot of them unnecessary.
Yeah, and I think as well, it's worth saying that if we mention a tool, if we don't mention a tool that you're using, but you get a lot out of it, and it works for you, awesome.
Keep doing it.
That's the thing. Is I feel when people do resource lists, the only reason we wanted to go through this is because, like you say, there is so much choice out there, and we've been doing it a while. We're like, well, what have we found that we end up using again and again?
Yeah.
But at the same time, if there's something that you're using that works, keep at it, man. Don't, I know guys who still produce outstanding work in things like Coral Draw.
Yeah, I remember Coral Draw. I rember using that back in the early 90s.
They're still big, man. They still have a really powerful graphics package.
Wow.
But they just haven't, for whatever reason, it hasn't come across, in some of the other.
I think Adobe has just literally trounced the marketing space of that industry, haven't they?
Yeah, and people forget that Adobe have bought a lot of their packages.
Yes.
When Coral Draw was out, they were competing with, Illustrator, like CAD and stuff, and Adobe went and bought a lot of them. So yeah, it's whatever you're using, but this is our list of how to put together some of the design for your brand options.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's start with the big one that most people want to know how to do, and this is your logo. Your logo isn't the first thing you should concentrate on,
No.
but it's usually the most expensive part of branding design.
Yeah.
And the reason why I say this is because you need to get an expert on board to do your logo. Your logo is the sum culmination of everything that you are. It's your split-second introduction to your audience. And if you don't get that right, it's also going to be plastered across most of your communications and most of your material. If you don't get that right, then you're missing a huge opportunity. Don't do it yourself unless you're a graphic designer. So there are a lot more again, but there are two main resources for getting a logo designed. And these are both crowd-sourced design websites. So the first one is Design Hill.
Yeah, I've never heard of Design Hill.
I use that for Brand Snack. Very good experience. There are a lot of absolutely shocking designers on there that you'll get through. There are some amazing designers on there. It depends upon, one, how much you spend with them and the quality of the prize that you're offering. And two, the quality of your brief.
Yeah, and I would argue that you're better off putting as much budget aside for your logo above your website, which sounds weird.
Agreed.
From a company that builds predominantly websites. The reason for that is because your logo should be around a lot longer than your channel. The website is a channel, and I think people forget that. The design of your website is going to change way more than your logo will. But having a logo, even though it's the last thing you should do, it's this logo is this weird kind of thing where people are like, oh, I'll do it myself with some clip art. And I believe if you genuinely, literally, absolutely have no money, use your name and have it at about 2.5 units long, and just and leave it at that. Leave it at that as a typeface. A logo is really important. We'll talk about it a bit later, but there's some great companies out there. We actually hired a local professional to do Devon Digital Designs one before we sold that. We're getting another one to do for MeBox. But a couple of our sports brands were done by, I don't know if it was 99 Designs. It was another crowdsourcing site, but again, we were putting like $1,000 behind it. So you get what you pay for.
Yeah, I was going to say I spent about $600 on the Brand Snack one. Yeah, the top package I think on most of the websites like that is about $1,000 to $1,200.
So yeah.
You don't need to spend loads. They have options. Don't go for the $99 option because you're basically going to get what you pay for.
What you're buying is actually you're buying one of our later resources. You're buying something from Creative Market or from Graphic River there, basically.
Yeah, you are, exactly. And just paying a lot more for it.
Yeah.
But if you're starting off on sort of like the $300 upwards, $300, $500, $600, up to $1,000, then you're on a scale of the type of quality that you're going to get.
Yeah.
And like Mike said, your logo is going to be longer lasting than any channel that you're going to be on. You need to make sure it works. And there are so many inherent characteristics of a logo that you need to get right. There's the psychology behind it, the shape, the color, the meaning, the association with you and your personality as a business. That's why a brief is so incredibly important there. We're getting a bit too much into what a logo actually is rather than the resources. So we're going to save that for another time. But it's an incredibly important part. So Design Hill, 99 Designs. There are plenty of others out there, but those are the top two that we found that get the job done really well. Secondly, in this day and age, you're going to be creating video content. And if you're not, please start. You're going to need to animate that logo as an intro and an outro to top and tail your video content. The best place I've found to get an animation done of your logo is Fiverr. Unfortunately, like the name suggests, you won't be paying just $5 for it because the quality will be shocking. And again, you'll be paying for stock animation, which isn't what you want. but you can find people that will bespoke animate your logo. Have a look at their highlight reels. You can play their videos when you go on there and see what they've done for other businesses.
Yep.
And you can usually tell the ones that have literally used a couple of wavy line animations that could be from anything, or individually animated a bird on a logo of, I don't know, Twitter, like flying around and then settling in the logo, like something that's, is unique to that logo.
Yeah.
So yeah, you usually pay about maybe $50, $60 for something like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely great. Third, fonts. Now, you have some choices with fonts, and usually if you want a good font, you're going to have to pay for it. There are plenty of fonts out there. Google Fonts has millions, but again, because Google Fonts have millions, it usually gets whittled down to like the top 10, and then everyone uses those top 10. So your brand then becomes a generic version of whichever font that you use within that top 10.
Yep.
I really like the site MyFonts.
Yeah, classic. Yeah.
They've got a whole host of paid. I don't know if they've got free fonts on there as well, actually. But their paid fonts are absolutely outstanding. A couple of quick tips: when you do get fonts, make sure you get the web font license and also the desktop font license. They're two different things, and you're going to pay twice for both of them. Also check the license restrictions and everything for that. So depending on the amount of visitors you have coming to your site will change the type of web font license that you need. But their range of fonts is outstanding. And the way they're presented is really good. You can also enter in text that you want to display. And try out the font on screen for free. So yeah, MyFonts is absolutely amazing. Have you used...
No, I know of MyFonts. We remember we used them a lot at uni for our design work. You've got a couple other here, like Dafont, DAFONT, which is like, to me is the original. Yeah, like they've been around for so long.
They're starting to show in their UI now, a little bit.
It's old school.
Yeah.
The best place that we found for fonts and being able to manage it as well for customers is Adobe Creative Cloud.
Yes.
So we pay
the Typekit.
Yeah, Typekit, $15 a month or something. And we get unlimited use of as many fonts as we want.
Yeah.
Within the Adobe thing. And to me, that's been incredibly powerful, because not only have I been able to go through this with customers and pick out their fonts and stuff, but it syncs across all of my devices. We've got the web font. We can put it in PowerPoint presentations and documents and stuff like this. So I'm a huge fan of, and I think for $15 a month, I think it's like, and I think that comes with Photoshop.
Yes.
Creative Cloud thing, which like,
I believe it. Yeah, I think you get a certain level of Typekit. When you pay for Photoshop and Lightroom.
Yeah. So that to me, that's if you wanted to have a look at some more like premium fonts that are still, I think that's still crazy affordable.
Yep.
To be able to go with it. And we've also downloaded like font packages from, is it Creative Market?
Yeah, Creative Market.
Yeah, Creative Market's great.
They got some good ones on there. And they usually do, every Monday, they do 6 free design assets, and they've usually got a load of free fonts in there as well. Like they're usually paid for, but they discount them to free for every Monday. So go check them out and have a look at, sign up for their newsletter, and you'll get those in your inbox every Monday as well. Font Squirrel is also another one.
Don't know that.
It's pretty much of a muchness, to be honest. But you can also find some good free fonts on there.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, so your main fonts, you'll most likely have to pay for to get the kind of the quality and the distinctiveness about them that you need for your brand. However, that's not to say that you're only going to be using paid for fonts. Free fonts are absolutely fine if you want to use them for big headlines, for impact, and for that sort of design, rather than your constant text and headlines.
A lot of this is kind of on the concept of marginal gains, isn't it? Because if you haven't done anything else for your brand or for your business, like you haven't got a vision, you haven't got a customer, you could spend 2 years picking out a font and it's not going to make or break your business.
No, it won't.
But at the same time, all of this stuff kind of compounds and becomes a very clear image of what your business is.
Yep.
Like, I don't know what the McDonald's font is, but I reckon if someone gave me that one compared to another font, I'd be able to pick it out.
Yeah.
Because I see it everywhere, you know? So
Yep.
I think part of it's a double-edged sword, and I want to talk about this a bit at the end, is because it's easy for us to collect. Like, I've got folders and folders and folders of PSD files, fonts, stock images, resources that A, I've never used, but B, I've spent so much time poring over. I've been like, is this actually what my brand is, or should I be picking out the one thing that my brand represents, as opposed to kind of going through it and filtering out and saying, oh, I like this, maybe I shift my brand towards that. And I don't think that's the way you should be doing it. So these resources and tools are a bit of a blessing and a curse. You know, they're a bit of a double-edged sword.
Yeah, they definitely are. And I think that's why at the beginning we said about the caveat of brand design is not branding.
Yeah.
Branding takes a hell of a lot of time and effort to get right.
Yeah, it does, yeah.
The brand design is the cherry on the cake. That once you know everything about your whole personality, your story, your values, your promises, all of that, your audience, everything about them, what they like, and how they feel and their desires, all of that then culminates in the type of font or the type of color or the type of logo that you then produce or you get and use. So it then becomes the very final bit of when you can go into somewhere like My Fonts and be like, that font gives me everything I need from a psychological and design perspective that reflects everything about my business. But if you don't know and you haven't done that branding side, the strategy side about your business first, then you're literally going to be looking at an absolute ocean of fonts thinking, I have no idea. That one looks nice, but there's no reasoning behind anything. There needs to be specific reasons over your choices. So I suppose... you need to know all that first before you can jump into this.
You absolutely do, yeah. And this is, I mean, we'll talk about this next. You know, the color scheme.
Yep.
This is the big one to me.
Yeah.
And so how? Let's say I've got a rough idea of the colors. I know what colors I'm kind of going for. The look. You know, what tools do I have available for that?
Okay. So there are two main ones that I use, and I know that you use one of these.
Yeah.
The first one is Coolers, which is absolutely amazing. Just to literally whip up a Pantone card of colours that go together. It's a simple online program. You just log on and stick your colours on there, and then you can save the image of all the colours next to each other. And then use that with the hex codes, the RGB codes, whatever you want to use. And that's the most simple way of defining your colour scheme and how they look in combination with each other. There's also one that goes a bit further than that. That's Adobe Color CC, again, another free online tool. This starts adding in color theory.
Oh, interesting.
Into how your colors can actually, into how they can actually combine together. Whereas Coolers, you literally pick your colors and that you have them side by side, and you can flick through a couple of. It does
have an algorithm behind it. Coolers.
Oh, does it?
Yeah, so it does. It has now got like it will put colors together. It follows a really basic formula whereby you'll have a primary color, an opposite color, a color that's along the same spectrum, a dark and a light.
Right.
They do have an algorithm, but it's a bit hit and miss. So yeah, you can generate like all five, and the idea is if you lock in two, it's supposed to generate the others inside it.
Yeah.
So
that's true, actually. Yes.
But Adobe they've got a full.
Yeah, they got a full like color wheel with the different. Like theoretical
it actually goes
color theory behind it.
The process behind it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and then so you can there are different types of color theory, and again, this is something that when you come to choosing your colors, you need to be aware of basic color theory and how colors react with each other to complement and best go together. And Adobe Color CC is very good for that, but you need to know the theory before you can use it.
Yes, that's a really good point.
But like you say, colours are, again, incredibly important to the visual aspect of your brand design, and how people perceive, because there's a lot of psychological properties to colours.
Well, what was I'll talk about this in a bit. So on a book that I've read, and I've reread it. I've read it twice in this week because I've been blown away by it. They were saying how McDonald's. So apparently one of the easiest ways to brand your business is to look at the colours that everything else is on the market. And they said, so for example, John Deere, the tractor company, there was a tractor company setting up in Brazil, and they were like, okay, well, what's the opposite of the green? And they said red, and they went, no, there's another big tractor company that uses red. What's the opposite of those two? And they said blue. And they go, okay, well, blue is not a great colour for a tractor, but it is so different to those other brands that's what we'll use. And I was like, that's really interesting. It can be quite simple like that. You can just go for what's completely different. And they then went, okay, well, what's McDonald's? And interestingly, people think it's yellow for McDonald's. It's not. It's actually red. Red is actually McDonald's colour. And I went, okay, what's the colour for Burger King? And I was like, do you know, I've got absolutely no idea. I've got no idea what the colour is for Burger King because they've got no colour scheme.
Yeah.
Their colour palette is designed around the colours of a burger.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking brown.
Yeah, it is. Well, it is in our mind, but it's not. They don't want it to. They want it to be red.
But it's brown.
But it is brown.
That's brilliant.
That's what's in the mind. Yeah, and again, like Coca-Cola being red, Pepsi decided to go. They should have gone for just pure blue, just to be completely opposite and stand apart. And they haven't. They've gone for blue and red in their logo. And you go, okay, well, so what's the colour of Pepsi? You go, well, blue and red.
Do you know the funny thing about McDonald's though? It's like you say, it's red mainly, predominantly, and then the yellow arches.
Yeah.
I think it was when was it? Like 2005, maybe a bit onwards. They found out that red doesn't go very well with healthy eating. And it's a really kind of overproduced colour, and something that screams like unhealthiness.
That's interesting.
And also danger. Red does. So they I don't know if they've done this globally, but definitely in the UK, they started changing their background colour to green.
Yeah, it's a more muted colour palette, isn't it?
Yeah, and they started also changing some of their restaurants to the green and yellow scheme. So there was literally no red to be found within the restaurants.
True. They have started.
And then they started pushing salad boxes and like, I don't know, chicken McNugget salad boxes. I don't know how that works.
Yeah.
It's like, here's a leaf and a really unhealthy piece of chicken nugget.
Drenched in sugar dressing.
Yeah, exactly. Health.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so they completely went against all of that because people were turned off because there was a huge health kick, especially within the UK.
I wonder if now if you look back at some of the adverts, if actually, because it's that kind of, to me it looks like swamp green. It doesn't look a healthy green to me.
No, it doesn't. It looks very ill.
It looks swamp green.
They didn't choose well, though.
It's the type of water that you see stagnating somewhere. That to me is, and it's got this really bright. So I don't know if the yellow, they've decided to embrace the yellow, and the green is the best colour to offshoot that. Yeah,
potentially. There might be reasons behind it. But then if you're thinking that looks like a murky swamp, it's the wrong colour.
I don't want to talk about colours too much because I know we're talking about tools, but this is why this conversation is so important, because we're giving you resources to be able to enable these actions. But there needs to be a lot of thought behind what it is you're going to commit to.
Yeah, exactly.
Like the biggest thing I see is corporate and service-based companies using the colour blue. Fucking hell. Everyone's blue, lads. Everyone is blue. No, it's good. Psychologically, it represents. It's like, yeah, but everyone's trying to represent that in your industry. Everyone. There are other elements to the human brain that you can appeal to.
Yep.
You know? So, yeah, use the colour tools, but don't let the tools dictate your colour palette.
Yes. That's very important.
To say, you know, make sure whatever it is, what do you want to go for? What is it that you want to put forward? What is it if you had all those other products on the shelves? What color would make yours stand out?
Yeah, completely.
And then use the tools to execute on that. You know.
Yeah, exactly that. Cool. All right. Next up, icons. Now these are really important within design. They're important in letting people know visually what text beneath it. It's kind of like a relationship between text and imagery, and some people work well off text. They like to read stuff. Some people like to instantly glance over things and see like, that looks like so and so. I'll click on that and it leads through to something else, or it represents a point.
Yeah, this like icons and iconography to me have been massively downplayed in the last few years, because I think people forget that letters and numbers are icons.
Yeah.
Like if I put A, just the symbol for A, people know that's either going to be first or top or up. Z means last. B means second.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean last, it means second.
Yeah.
You know, so icons are really interesting to me. The first one you've got down here, so I'm going to steal your thunder, because I love...
Why not?
Yeah. That could be the name of the show.
Years of work down the toilet.
Crafting this perfect episode.
Go ahead. I'll tell you what, I'll go outside, mate.
Yeah, I'll just chat for 20 minutes.
Go sit in the garden.
The Noun project, to me, for icons, was... it's such a simple idea. They basically take more complex words and phrases and stuff. Like, we know the icon logo, I guess, for PayPal.
Yep.
We know the icon for COG, but they'll find words and turn them into icons, which for me has just been this godsend.
Yeah.
For, you know, kind of headings and little introduction pieces and bullet points and stuff. So yeah, I'm a huge fan of the Noun project, and I believe all their stuff is still free, open source.
Yeah, still free, absolutely free, and just the amount of different logos they have on there are insane.
Yeah,
you can literally type in anything and you will get a logo for it.
Yeah,
don't trust me on that. I probably haven't tried it.
That's it. Take it for gospel.
Yeah, yeah.
That's done.
Type in anything.
Send in your complaints.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
anything you want.
Yeah, no, but it's also useful when like creating a button or something, and you want to have a very specific logo on there. Maybe if you go through to Stripe or whatever.
Yeah.
The other one to me that I use all the time, which is actually embedded in a lot of our page builders and stuff, is Font Awesome.
Yes. Okay.
FA. So they use a lot of icons. To me, they're probably in 90% of our pages. That's what we use more than anything. I use the Noun project for when I need to find something that's really odd, off, you know, something that's not a usual. Like everyone's got an icon for COG, people, work, office, card. But if I need an icon for like bookshelf or something, the Noun project will probably have it. But Font Awesome is this amazing resource. It's actually a font as well, which means you can install it on your site. Some page builders and some websites have it pre-installed already. And what it means is that you can type in the character reference to that font, which means you can have little icons on your menus, you can have them in your headings, you can have them on links. So yeah, really, really awesome tool.
Cool. As in the name.
It is. Oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
I thought it was fontor.
Font
space,
or some. Font or somewhat.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought it was.
Moving swiftly on. So the next one is design elements. Now, yes, that's very kind of broad and generic.
Stuff.
Brand stuff.
Yeah.
Where do you find resources for brand stuff?
Where are your things?
Yeah. So this literally includes everything from shapes to lines to banners.
You are naming the most generic terms.
Tell me about it.
It's got things,
stuff, and little bits.
The amount of jiggers and bits and bobs and stuff. But yeah, these are all the resources that are kind of like, to me, they're equivalent of soft furnishings inside a house.
Yeah, like textures and backgrounds and just all those little things that you take for granted because you don't really notice them.
Yeah.
But when used in conjunction with your color scheme, with your fonts, with your photography, bring something to life.
Yeah.
If you're just putting stuff on a blank page, whatever you're doing is going to look like a Word document.
Yeah.
If you then use textures and patterns and shapes to bring stuff out to the foreground, it takes it onto a whole new dimension. Mm-hmm. So there are some amazing places to get stuff like that from. So the two main paid ones are, again, Creative Market and Envato Market. Both of those have literally hundreds of thousands of different resources in that area.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of free ones as well. So Vect Easy, that's VECTEEZY. They basically have they've got Vect Easy, Brush Easy.
Oh yeah, Brush Easy. I know them.
Vid Easy.
Yeah. Vid Easy. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is their vector site.
Cool.
But anything easy has like a huge range of amazing resources on for free. And Free Pick. That's PIK.
Yeah. They've been around a long time.
Yeah. So out of those four, you're going to find anything that you pretty much want to, whether you have to pay a couple of dollars for it on Creative Market or Envato, or get it for free on the other two.
Yeah. The reason I like Envato, I know some people absolutely loathe Envato because of the way they've commoditized design, but personally, I kind of think, well, you know, no one's forcing you to use it. The reason I love Envato is because if I strike up a relationship with people who have done a particular icon, I'll usually have a conversation with them, and for a little extra, they'll like alter it and change it and stuff.
Yeah, I think that's really good.
So I like to do that because it's kind of like this portfolio that I can peruse and buy and stuff. And I'm a shiny object syndrome guy. If I see a new, shockingly, if there's a new tool that's been out for 45 seconds, I'll buy the premium package lifetime version. Never use it, but Studio Envato, well, I'll kind of browse through it, and if I see like a couple of logos or something that I like, I'll be like, yeah, no, I've picked that up. And I just like to have a little backlog of stuff that I will never, ever, ever use. So that's what I was talking about earlier. This is a double-edged sword. So this is me as an addict telling other people, like, just be careful because it's really easy to get sucked in.
It is. When I was starting up Brand Snack, I was still working out my branding. But again, I got caught by the shiny tools and the shiny things. Yeah. And I went on to Envato and literally bought dozens of Photoshop actions, which we'll get onto in just a minute.
Yeah.
Of like, oh, I can make everything look like this and I can make it look like that, and that'd be incredible. And then when I actually finished the branding strategy side for Brand Snack, I was like, I need one of those 20 Photoshop action tools.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Good. So yeah, like you say, it can be incredibly consuming, and you'll just buy everything if given the chance.
Yeah, so just
be careful.
And Envato Market is a bunch of stuff. It's Audio Jungle, Graphic River, it's loads of things, right? And they also have Envato Studio.
Yes.
Which we actually use quite a lot for our development needs. For when we have like code and stuff we need built, but anyway, there you go. Next one, everyone's favorite,
photography. Now again, there are thousands.
Just Google images.
Just
Google search. Try and remove the watermark.
That's all you need.
Don't worry about it.
Fine,
that's all you need.
Or go out with your camera and take pictures of stuff. Anything that you want to find.
I'm desperate for a macro lens. Like I really want to take like really high. Like that's what I showed you, that huge lens up there.
Yes,
it's like the size of a baseball bat.
It literally is the size of a baseball bat. That was
supposed to be a macro lens. I was like, no. I went into this store in Flagstaff in the United States, and I was like, I'm looking for a macro lens. They're like, we don't have anything like that. I was like, what is that?
That skyscraper of a piece of camera equipment.
It's basically just a telescope that you can connect a camera to. And he was like, oh yeah, we can't sell it because it's too big. No one wants it. I was like, I will 100% buy that from you. I've literally never used it once. Can't take photos of birds, and it's obviously not a macro lens, but
birds as in the animals.
Yep.
Good. Yeah. Otherwise known as the pervert lens.
Yeah, it is. It is absolutely a pervert lens. Yeah.
It's one of those things that you see in movies. Of
That's Rear Window. It is the lens from Rear Window. Yeah, but so photography now. Photography to me is the worst offender of the shiny object syndrome.
Yep.
Because my Unsplash folder is about 5 gigs, which actually I was quite surprised it was that much. I thought it'd be more than that.
I suppose that's not too bad.
Because you can sign up and they'll send you the 10 photos every week or 7 photos every week or something. And there's a few services that do it like that. And I have bit by bit downloaded them, and they are absolutely staggering. Now, Unsplash has changed their interface. Their website's changed quite a bit, and they've now got a search function.
Yep.
So we don't really download and save them anymore. We just kind of download the one we need, and we'll move on from there. The only thing I would say is that I think the quality has dipped a little bit.
Yes, it has.
Because it's now a marketplace that anyone can submit to.
Yeah.
And I still think you need to be really clear on the types of images you want to go after.
Yeah.
There's some that are really like stark white. Like if we were just designing a sales page today, and I was like, I need to find 3 different images representing like technology, sociology, and economics, but they have to have a similar feel to them.
Yep.
And the easiest one was actually one with kind of like this that kind of grey washed out filter on them.
Oh yeah, they're always nice.
Yeah, and they look good, but more importantly, they look consistently across the 3. So yeah, to me, Unsplash is, and we try to just stick with Unsplash because I know what I'm getting at.
Yep.
You know, if we do work for clients and stuff. So
yeah,
there are others.
Yeah. I find Unsplash's quality is probably the best.
It is outstanding. Yeah.
But their range probably isn't the greatest.
No.
So then there's a couple of others that I use. One called Photo. That's
never heard of Photo.
Foter. They boast to have, I think, 335 million photos on there. Some of them from Unsplash you can find on there as well. But they're usually pretty decent for the range. And then finally, Pixabay.
Yeah, Pixabay's good.
Yeah. Pixabay.
Yep.
Those 2, those 3 in conjunction, you're going to pretty much find whatever you need. A few quick caveats. Make sure that you don't click on the Shutterstock images that are in the adverts in the top row.
Yeah.
I've done that and made that mistake before. Not bought it, but been like, this is a complete waste of time.
Yeah.
I don't need to spend $200 on a picture. Thank you very much. And also, photography, you don't need to use photos as they come. Yes, they're stock imagery, but when you use photos in conjunction with your brand design style, and when you start putting them into programs such as Photoshop or Illustrator, you can alter them to make them look completely different or take elements of them.
Yeah.
So remember that the photo that you get won't necessarily be what it's going to look like when you put it into your brand design in final.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's photography. Photoshop actions up next. So we've spoken about this briefly, and the best place to get those are Graphic River, which is part of Envato.
Yeah.
These things are amazing. Like literally, you'll pay $6 for an entire one-click process to turn an image into something completely different. Like you want to have an old person on fire, do it.
Yeah.
You want to have a city
Insight to James's branding.
yeah. I don't know where that came
If you
from.
want to have a cat on fire,
Do a cat on
if you
fire.
want to have a house, you have anything you want on fire. James has got 15 Photoshop actions that can do all of them. Yeah, he loves it.
Each $10.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, you can literally do anything. You can turn like an entire cityscape into this like derelict wasteland, post-apocalyptic something.
Yeah.
You can make stuff into like water outlines of stuff.
Yeah.
Anything that you can possibly think of, you can do.
What we liked as well is you can get really clever with Photoshop and have an action inside a batch operation, and you can just upload like a folder of 100 images and just apply anything simple from a filter all the way through to like watermarks.
Yep.
And it's just, and you can, what I like is typically if there's something you want to do inside Photoshop, you are not the first person to want to do it. You're also probably not the first person who's documented it. So go and have a look, buy these Photoshop actions.
Yeah.
We almost, you've got it here, Graphic River.
Yeah.
Just sells them. I think Creative Market sells them
Creative
as well.
Market got them as well. Usually you find the same on both, to be honest.
And they are, and it's basically if I say, look, I really want to put, I don't know, maybe a Facebook, maybe an Instagram style filter, and a cloth texture over one of these images. I'll just run the action. If I want to do it over 100, I can just batch it.
Yeah.
So massive, massive time savers there.
Yeah, exactly. You don't need to be an expert in Photoshop.
Nah.
You don't need to be an expert in design. You need to buy a $6 one-click action and do that and save yourself some time so you can concentrate on other things within your business. Photoshop brushes are another part of this. I love Photoshop brushes.
Yeah, that's your
I can't get
thing,
enough of them.
Yeah,
oh, they're incredible.
Yeah.
Because you can do so much with them.
Yeah.
Not only can you use them as clipping masks, this is something that will basically frame an image, so you can cut out that shape and then put an image behind it. But you can use it to add just texture and quality to images or to anything that you want, really.
Yeah.
And you can get brushes that do anything. So from sun rays to smoke to water to fire, literally to anything, you can get a brush that does it. And a lot of them are absolutely free.
Yeah.
You can find a lot on Creative Market and Envato, but I like to go to Brush Easy.
Yeah.
All one word. It's another one of Vecteezy and Videezy and stuff. But yeah, Photoshop brushes on Brush Easy are very, very good. Finally, music.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't look at this or absolutely ignore it completely. Music is very, very important to your brand design. It's not visual, but it's something that will stick in the mind of people and will resonate with people. I think we've said this in another show, that music is the one thing that bypasses the croc brain. The croc brain is an area, the amygdala of the brain.
Yeah.
Basically says if something is scary or if something is boring, then to ignore it.
Yeah.
And every single piece of information or experience that we have goes through that first.
Yeah, it has to.
And then goes into the more emotional, the more kind of intelligent parts of our brain to then figure out if what to do with it. So music is the one thing that bypasses that. I don't know how it does it, but it does, and goes straight to our emotions and makes us feel something first. So a few places to get that. Audio Jungle, which again is part of Envato. They have a huge range of different audio clips. Free Music Archive and Ben Sound are the main ones.
Oh, yeah, I've never heard of Ben Sound.
Yeah, Ben Sound's pretty good. There are loads of others, and to be honest, you can either choose to buy singular tracks or get them for free, or you can choose. There's some subscription services out there, like I think Purple Planet and other things, that you basically pay a monthly fee for, and you've got access to their entire sound library, and you can use everything.
One I'm using at the moment, and I've only recently discovered this. So there's an artist I really love called Alan Walker. He's a Swedish kind of like chill step. Did some couple of songs called like Faded and Atlantis and stuff. If anyone doesn't know him, check him out. I think he's absolutely brilliant.
I haven't heard of him. He sounds good.
He's awesome. He's really, really good.
Alan Walker.
Alan Walker, yeah, like this kind of chill step. And I saw this NCS, so November Charlie Sierra, on all of his albums. I was like, what is that the label or something? And it kind of is, and it's no copyright sounds. So YouTubers, it's a really interesting, I'm going off on a bit of a tangent here. YouTubers who do like video game demos and like show video games playing and stuff.
Yeah.
They often can't use the sounds from that game in their video. They can show the video, but not the sounds.
Yes, yeah.
Really, really weird. You'll probably know more about it than me, but so what they've created is nocopyrightsounds.co.uk. It's just got this database, this huge library of completely free. It's the equivalent of Unsplash, but for music.
Nice.
And they have everything from like dubstep to more chill stuff, electronica, bass, some funk and stuff like this. It's mainly electronic. There's no rock or anything like this.
Okay.
But we've found that if I want to put overlay music on the back of a YouTube video or on an end screen, or if I want to have it introducing a title slide on a course or something, I am absolutely in love with this stuff. I think it's really, really cool. You get to see some new artists and things. So yeah, nocopyrightsounds.co.uk to me is like where I just think you can find some awesome music.
Amazing.
Yeah.
That sounds really good.
Yeah, it's really good.
Great tip.
And you can kind of cut it up into like little 20-second like segments and stuff if you want to just have like little sound bites and logos and things. And all they ask is just for a little credit. You know?
Nice.
on their pieces. But
mate, that's really good, because I think a lot of the problem with music is a lot of people produce crap. Because everyone thinks they're a music producer, right? Yeah. And everyone produces absolute toss.
Garbage.
Yeah. Apart from some which are incredible, but then they usually move into the realms of people paying for their music, and their music gets popular and they move on from there. So I find that a lot of free music is usually awful. Yeah. But that's not to say that there are some incredible gems out there. And if you can find them and you know what you're looking for and where to look, then you're in with a great chance of actually finding some amazing music to put onto your videos. Also, if you think about it, if you're running somewhere where there's a physical space as well, such as a retail outlet or a cafe, restaurant, spa, whatever.
Yep.
Music is a huge environment experience. And if you get that right, people won't notice it, but they will notice their moods changing. And that's the whole point of music, to affect mood. If you get it wrong, they notice the music, and there's a huge disconnect, and it will off-put people, and all they'll be able to focus on is how bad the music is, and they'll forget about everything else.
Years ago, when I was trained as a chef, we made a joke, because I quite like heavy metal, and we made a joke, we're like, God, you'd never play that in a restaurant, and the kitchen was downstairs from the restaurant, so I could never hear what they were playing. But when I went upstairs, they'd always joke about it. They was like, God, you'd never play like Slayer or Slipknot in a restaurant. We'd all have a good laugh about it. And I'd go upstairs and they'd be playing like EDM or like some like dance music or like house music. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why would you joke about metal not working, but you think that this is appropriate? And I go, oh, we hadn't really thought, we like it. I don't give a fuck if you like it. Turn it down. It's absolute moronic. This is mental. What are you doing?
Yep.
So yeah, music's this huge part, and I don't think people pay enough attention to it. I think that's because it intimidates people.
Yes.
Choosing the right music, but if you get the right stuff, it can make a huge difference.
Yeah.
And there's a lot out there on kind of what to choose and stuff. Real quickly, just before we wrap up. There's something that we found recently that we really love. It's basically Unsplash, but for video.
Yep.
So it's HD free videos. Okay. So sorry, HD videos that are free at WeDistill.io, as in like you distill water. So it's WeDistill.io, and it's basically free HD video footage.
Nice.
That we can use in like backgrounds.
Perfect.
You can use it in video. You can use it wherever you want. And so yeah, I just wanted to, as a branding thing as well, that to me is a resource that we've used a lot, like kind of the backgrounds of a lot of our parallax headers and stuff like this on our websites and stuff. And occasionally we've used it on the overlays of like sales videos and things like this. So
okay,
yeah, that's out there, and that's a cool piece of kit.
Nice, like that. Yeah. Cool. Okay, well that's pretty much all the parts of brand design covered.
Yeah.
And there are some great few resources in there. So again, some paid for, some free.
But you've got a free course. Brand Snack has a free course.
Yes, yeah. Brand Snack has a free course, which actually takes you through the branding side of it. So before you even get to the brand design side, if you want to start sorting out your branding and your strategy, then we have a free course up and running. Go to the website, brandsnack.co, and sign up for that. It's an 8-day course. Straight to your inbox, one a day, and that will take you through the basics of getting your brand strategy right, so you can then move on and be confident that you're getting the right brand design out of it. So yeah, cool,
man,
nice.
Yeah.
Shall we move on to the content report?
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited to hear what you've got, because this looks interesting.
Cool. So an email came into my inbox the other day. From Sumo, the guys that create Sumo, everything else that they do, AppSumo. Yeah. And it was actually a really good article about a guy called Tony Robbins. I'd never, ever heard of him before.
Really?
Yeah, I know. I was like, who? Who's
Man,
Tony
he's been
Robbins?
going since like the late 80s.
Yeah, I know.
He's enormous. Like, I mean, physically as well, he's about 6'8". He's absolutely massive.
That's insane.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd never ever heard of him, and I was like, "Who is this Tony Robbins?" And the headline was "How Tony Robbins Generates 1 Million Website Visitors Per Month." And I was like, "How? How does he do that?"
It's beyond like. It's like saying to someone how we went to the moon. It's not like going, right, well, I actually want to understand how. I'm like, how did you even think of how you were going to do that?
Yeah.
It's like removed another level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
mate. Yeah.
Yeah, so I was like, one, who is Tony Robbins, and how has he got?
Who is this joker? He's been around since January 2017. And he's just skyrocketed up to 1 million visitors. A month.
Yeah,
It's
just
pretty
like
simple.
that.
Yeah, just by sharing a few blog posts and being on Instagram.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, okay, right. So I clicked on it.
Sorry, again, you'd never heard of Tony Robbins?
Never heard of him.
Right, so for the other 3 people out there who have never heard of Tony Robbins basically had a thing called, I think it was called Unleash the Power of Me, or like Unleash the Beast or something like this, where basically, this is back in the kind of the late 80s, it was a self-help book before they became really, really big and over-commoditized, but he has stayed with it all the way through, and even now, like, he is just the most engaging, energizing, like, people love him. Like, if he had a mind to, he could become a cult leader quite quickly.
Right, yeah.
So yeah, just a really, really cool guy. He's recently got a book on investing and money.
Oh, right, yep.
Yeah, like The Power of Money and stuff.
Okay.
Really, really clever book.
Oh,
So, yeah,
wait, you've mentioned that before.
I haven't mentioned Tony Robbins' book before.
Have you not? No, not on the show to me before.
Oh, maybe. Yeah.
I think you have.
Yeah.
So I have heard of Tony Robbins before.
Fucking hell.
Slightly.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, cool guy. But sorry, you were saying how he gets a million a month.
Yeah, so basically, Sumo break it down with 11 different tips that him and his team uses for his online marketing activity to drive that amount of traffic to his website. It's incredibly interesting the way he structures his website, the way he creates mini funnels throughout his website.
Yeah,
he's got like literally like thousands of different products.
Yeah, he has.
So he needs something this large and this complex, but it's the way that he does it. So he starts off with a questionnaire, a free questionnaire at the top of his website for people to answer. And that basically segments them instantly into a certain stream, predefined. And funnily enough, each one of those streams is then leading into each a range of products for those streams, a range of blog posts for those streams, a range of everything for those streams. And they're all split down. I think it's about 8 streams. And it's the way he kind of does that. And then, like, on top of that, using Facebook ads, retargeting, using different forms of content and podcasts, and like across all social media, and how he uses social media differently. So not putting out the same content to each social media platform, using them for what they are inherently best at. But yeah, some absolutely amazing tips in there. We'll include the link to that in the show notes as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's by AppSumo. So How Tony Robbins Generates 1 Million Website Visitors Per Month. Really good, amazing long form post article.
Yeah.
But yeah, some really good tips in there. So check it out.
I think it's important to know that Tony Robbins has been around for over 20 years. He has a net worth of $500 million.
Just a bit.
Yeah. So yeah, he sold, I don't know, probably more than 10 million copies of his books. It's probably more than that. I know that he sold tens of millions of copies of his audio training and his programs and stuff.
Right.
He's able to generate 1 million visitors a month because he's, it sounds like I'm having a go at him. I'm not. I genuinely respect, I love Tony Robbins. I think he's outstanding. He's able to do this stuff because he's been consistent about what he talks about over and over and over and over and over and over and over. I will do a Tony Robbins quiz or a Frank Kern quiz or a Grant Cardone quiz because I trust them. I actually personally think that some of this stuff is very difficult for people to do who have no trust. Like, I struggle to get some of my customers who pay me thousands a month to do like a little survey. So you have to build up, you have to bank enormous trust equity before you can execute some of this stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
But the thing I would pick up from this is if you read through and try and extract yourself above some of the things, you'll see that he uses his image everywhere.
Yep.
He uses the same font everywhere.
Yep.
The same colors everywhere. The same logos, typefaces, language.
Same call to actions.
Same call to actions. So there's an enormous amount that we can take away from this and begin to think, right, this is how someone does it. You are not going to get 1 million visitors per month overnight.
No.
It has taken Tony Robbins literally decades to get to this point, but he now can bank this in because he's built that trust equity.
Yeah.
So absolutely fascinating insight. I'm gonna take a look at this because even for someone like Tony Robbins, 1 million a month is a lot.
That's insane.
That is a lot.
So if someone's doing that, and obviously not all of it is from what him and his team are doing with the website and their online marketing.
Yeah.
But a lot of it is. So even if 40% of it is, that's still a hell of a lot. And if we as business owners can take ideas and tips from that to improve our own standing, then why not?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
Amazing article.
Mate,
give it a read.
He's on Netflix. He's got a thing called I'm Not Your Guru.
Okay.
You should check it out.
Okay.
Yeah. No, it's just because I was always like, Tony Robbins, self-help guru, all this kind of stuff. And I wasn't really huge into it. And he just seems like this real, genuinely decent, nice guy. And just a lot of energy, and he's a cool dude.
Nice, cool. Well, there we go. I now know who Tony Robbins is.
There you go. Absolutely staggering.
So that's worked out. How about you, mate?
So I read a book, right, so I work with a guy called Jeff, who's an old school graphic designer. Not one of these designers who's like, I do a little bit of graphic design. He's legit. Like he does this stuff, and his graphic design work basically increases sales. Okay, he knows what he does. He's fucking good at it. He was like, Mike, if you're into this kind of stuff, because he sits next to me and I do a lot of my coaching calls and things, he was like, you should check this book out. Have you read it? It's called The 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. And I'd never heard of it before. Now, this book is by Al Ries and Jack Trout. So that's Al, A-L, and then Ries is R-I-E-S, and Jack Trout, as in the fish. This book has completely changed. What's so funny?
As in the fish.
As in the fish.
Amazing.
What would you want me to say? Trout as in...
No,
I don't even know what the other... I didn't want to
trout.
spell it out. I could have spelled it out in this time that we've been laughing about this. Yeah, trout as in the fish.
Fine, carry on.
Yeah, just search for it. So this book has completely reinvigorated my concept of what branding is and of what categories are, the difference between advertising and publicity, and it's just like I said, I've just been up super late because I wanted to reread it this week. It was written in 1993, so some of the examples are a bit out of date. Like Google hadn't really taken off then, and Yahoo was the king player. But what's interesting is that even stuff written in 1993 is true now. So, I mean, we're talking like big brands like Amazon and stuff, and it's stuff like generic. What are they called? Generic URLs like money.com, mortgages.com, books.com, shoes.com. People will spend millions on those URLs. And he basically went through about 100 of these generic things like pets.co.uk, pets.com, toys.com. None of them are in business now. And I was like, why is that? He said, because generic names just don't work. You have to have... The name is the most important part of your business. Amazon.com works because it's a noun. It's a proper noun. And it was really interesting, and then he goes into why, okay, well, if that's true, why is Barnes & Noble, which are a huge bookstore in the US, why don't they have such a big online share? He says, because they don't understand that Barnes & Noble is a brand known for being a location. If they wanted to compete with Amazon, which first of all, they wouldn't have been able to do because Amazon was the first in the space, right? They should have then set up a completely different brand, completely different name, and done that. Instead of what they've tried to do is move into an online space, and it just hasn't worked.
Yeah, okay.
So, but it's other stuff as well. Like, if you're not the first in a category, let's say I said that I wanted to set up a new type of beer, right? You go, okay, well, what type of beer is it? I have to go, well, it can't be light, it can't be microbrewery, it can't be mass scale, it can't be IPA, it can't be APA. You go through all these things, it's like there's actually not a huge amount of stuff left. And there is actually, this is what they try to go over. They say, well, you could be a type of beer that's made from a particular type of plant or a particular type of hop. And if you can't claim to be the world's best or the world's leader or the world number one at something, you shouldn't be in the market.
Yeah.
And they basically showed like this dip, and also it was really interesting. It kind of led onto this article about how SaaS products, like for those who don't know, it's service as a software. So Canva, for example, is a SaaS product. You have software through your browser. There's millions of examples like, autoresponders are SaaS products, CRM systems. Salesforce is probably the most famous one.
Yep.
If you're not first in that space, you had better be the last person to enter the space, because there's this dip in the middle where people just aren't really that interested. You have to be the first. You have to design a space. And I don't know, this book, man, like, if anyone out there is ever like really clueless, like I'm a real beginner and stuff like this, read this book. I could not believe how good it is.
Cool.
22 Laws of Immutable Marketing. Immutable Laws of Marketing, sorry. Yeah, just absolutely outstanding.
And who's that by?
Al Reese and Jack Trout.
Oh, yeah.
Like the politician.
Nice.
Yeah, there we go.
I'm going to give that book a read, actually. That sounds really good.
It's relatively short as well. It's not too long.
To be honest, anything that can change people's minds about the value of branding and the importance of branding.
Honestly.
A lot of people, they don't get it because they don't know what it is.
Yeah, and branding to me is like, so recently I've started talking more and more about publicity and how PR I now believe to be the most valuable thing that your business can do. And I think it's been hijacked by people who are fucking idiots. A bit like social media has been hijacked by people who are fucking idiots.
Yep.
So now people don't take it seriously because you have a 22-year-old claiming they're a guru and they get it wrong, and then people go, well, therefore it doesn't work.
Yeah.
But publicity, for example, is the most important, like at a real basic high level. Advertising is drawing attention to a product. Publicity is pushing a category or a brand out to market. You can control one of those a lot more than the other. You cannot grow a brand with advertising. People have tried it. It just doesn't work.
Yep.
You can advertise a product. That's it. Take a look at any kind of BMW stuff. They have to run an advert 4 times an hour for 3 months before they even start to see sales.
Yeah.
For one product. That's for one M series.
Yep.
People do try it and they go, like Facebook has started advertising. People are like, oh, they're advertising the brand. They're not. They're advertising a product. Whereas publicity, which you can push out, which is your content, it's going out on guest blogs, podcasts, it's getting news out there. Now, the channel might not be right. I'd never pay for publicity in a magazine because I think, well, my audience aren't there. And that's why it's been a bit bastardized, because people go, well, the old ways of doing it don't work anymore, therefore this doesn't work. And that's not true. It's just those channels aren't appropriate.
Yep.
And and there's another book they've got. It's called Positioning and the Battle for Your Mind, which is written by the same guys. Which I'm going to go and read now, but just, my mate Jeff, he was like, you've got to check this book out, Mike. And I had to thank him because I was like, I can't believe I haven't read this book before.
Nice.
And my CEO read this book like back when he was in college, and he was like, yeah, man, it's been a long time since I've read this. We need to reread this and go back over it, because it talks about so much of what it is that we're after. So 22 Immutable Laws of Marketing. Check it out.
Cool. Nice one. Good tip.
Sweet.
Lovely. All right. That's it for this show.
I think so.
And we will catch you guys on the next one.
Yeah, and as we say at the end of every episode,
see you next one. Smummed.
Nailed it.
That is not even a word. Well, it is now.
This is where they fade in the intro music, yeah?
Yeah, definitely.
Smash
way before this point.
Cheers, man.
Bye.
If you liked this episode, please subscribe to the Sell Your Brand Show on iTunes or your favourite podcast app and leave a rating and a review. It makes us feel all warm and fuzzy inside when we hear we're not just talking rubbish. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, drop us an email to podcast@sellyourbrandshow.com and we'll feature it in a future episode.